Seth. We've got three wise men today. Dr. Lang is doing some extensive hard work in Hawaii. Yeah, she's just suffering, y'all. She's suffering. But today's topic, we're going to talk about all of this crime, violence. Everything is up and spiking. And the three wise men are going to talk about, some remedies we can do to make things better. Now, as usual, we got to pay some bills. So I'm going to see you all in 2 minutes, 2 seconds.
Okay, we're out.
All right. Dr. Sharif, what is your masjid? Okay, Dr. Sharif is frozen. Run this long a little bit. Give the rabbi a couple of seconds.
Yep, you got it.
All right, Dr. Sharif, what's the name of your mosque?
Masjid Muhammad Nations Mosque.
Okay. That's in Washington or?
Yes, Washington, D.C. Yeah.
Rabbi, you've been doing this for a year, 3 months, and what? That's a total of 43 episodes that you've been doing this. What do you mean by this? I emailed you the link. Let's get this party started. I'm going to text it to you right now. He's usually the first one on, asking me all kinds of questions.
Oh, boy.
So what do you guys think? They're going after Roe v. Wade.
Oh, don't let me get started. You're gonna ask that question right now. Listen, abortion is one of the biggest killers of the black community. Man, listen, we need all the lives we can get. So, if this opinion becomes a legal document, like the law, then it's gonna be up to the states, and that's where the fight's gonna begin.
Yeah, but let's look at it. Yeah, abortion is the leading killer of African Americans. No doubt about it.
Part of the agenda.
Part of the reason why it was government financed.
Well, thanks to Margaret Sanger, she did a good job.
And we're talking about Margaret Sanger, a woman who studied under the German classism of selective breeding. Only the best and brightest were able or allowed to breed to produce the best and brightest children. So everybody else that was not in her consideration of class should be aborted.
That's what she thought. That Maslow's hierarchy. Survival of the fittest. That thing. I mean, look, all of us. That's why we're here, to help everybody. We're not God. So let's
Okay. Abortions.
Did you want me to come in, Vincent? Are you ready to come in, or did you want to wait for the rabbi?
Yeah, we'll come in. When he comes in, he comes in.
Okay, I'm going to transition you now.
Okay, you can count it down. We're just going to talk because people who are seeing us streaming have been here listening to us anyway. It's just
you guys are in. You guys are live.
So, but let's look at it. Abortions only became legal because white Eastern doctors got tired of midwives making all of that money, and then they deemed the midwives' technique as unsafe, unsanitized, and they didn't have the capability or knowledge in the event that anything went wrong. Where midwives have been doing abortion since what? The Stone Ages?
Well, even if they have, it's still a life. and we don't get to make that determination. Only God does.
True that.
That's it. I mean, and I get the outliers, the reasons why, but I look at how many doctors, lawyers, how many politicians have we, we taken out of circulation because of. You got the outliers, okay, rape, incest, okay, we get that, right? But that's not the general mass number of people who are getting abortions. It's those who make decisions and then regret their decisions. And so don't blame the baby for it.
No, they do blame the baby, but okay.
Exactly, right?
They do blame the baby. I mean, we've got trifling men who get women pregnant and said that I don't have any choice, or they don't consult me in terms of if she's going to keep it or not, or
right.
Which most of them are trifling and don't just want to have the woman to have an abortion anyway. You got, okay, on the same thing, you've got women who, just get pregnant because they think it's a way to keep the man, and then once they find out that, that doesn't keep him, that makes him run faster. Now they want an abortion. And you got some who are just trifling, who don't want to do anything like take precautions, contraceptives, birth control.
Right.
No. Their birth control is, I'm pregnant. Well, let me get an abortion.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be. I mean, we've got strong Black men and women who need to be on this earth right now. As all of us have traveled around, there's enough land for everybody. There's enough opportunities for everybody. Maybe some stuff that could have been developed hadn't been developed because of our heart. Our heart is deceitful and wicked, and we want our own way, but we're not God. We can't make that call. That's a God call. He could create life. He's the only one that can take it, barring,
Pastor, is it deceitful and wicked to just say, I'm sick and tired of these women going around with one kid on the left, one kid on the right, one kid in a stroller, and my tax dollars is paying for it?
Man, I guess it goes back to what you said. I want the guys to stand up. I want men to stand up and take responsibility. This is on our shoulders. I've got 3 boys, 1 daughter, and I teach my boys to be responsible men. And so I can't speak for all of them, but then I've got to be an example for those that don't live in my household. We can't go back from the beginning and change it, but we can start where we are now going forward. That's my position.
Okay. Well, let's look at another thing. Responsibility is one, but here is a huge obstacle that these politicians are going to have to deal with. Now, they've been trying to load conservative judges for the specific reason of coming after Roe v. Wade. We have given women extemporaneous rights and privileges by saying it's her body, her choice. Once you give somebody something, you got a hell of a fight to take it away.
Oh yeah, you don't give anything. Imam, I don't want us to crowd this conversation. I know you got some wisdom over there, but it's hard to take away something that you give, and that's why we would fight tooth and nail over it. So I think we're in for a fight. I think we're in for a long time of debate, and I think conversations that need to be had around it should happen face to face, not on social media. They should happen one-on-one in living rooms, in churches, in mosques, in synagogues, where you can see each other face to face and have dialogue. I mean, that's the only way we're going to solve this problem.
What about those people of faith, pastor, imam, rabbi? We know people in faith who sit there at the time of the gathering and will not address that issue, sidestep the issue, and preach Peter, John, and Mark.
Well, I think definitely, you've got the crowd that says, don't talk about issues, just talk about Jesus. I got it. I get it.
Okay.
And so, but sometimes you have to, to make an omelet, you got to crack a few eggs. That's my position. So we're called to speak truth, and the truth hurts. It cuts either way. It doesn't just cut the other person. The truth cuts those that are giving the truth just as much as those who are receiving it, because nobody is righteous. All of us have sinned. All fall short. So I think it is our due diligence, our duty to speak truth, whether it cuts us. And people of faith aren't perfect. A lot of them have issues of assisted in abortion, convincing people to do it.
Hold on, Pastor. You said people of faith aren't perfect.
Yep.
Want to see my shock face?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the reality. That's the reality.
Okay, we're having some technical difficulties. So I'm going to take a quick break and we're going to come back. I'm Vincent Squire with my three wise men, my co-hosts for today, Pastor Reverend Jonathan Leaf. I also have Dr. the Imam, Talib Sharif, and of course, as always, one of our favorite wise men, Rabbi Seth Frisch. Now, we're going to find out if somebody's calling us from their Obama phone, they can't get the link right, but we're going to come back in and we're going to dive into some heavy subjects today, dealing with some faith issues and all of this violence that we've got going on. And I'll see you all. 2 minutes, 2 seconds.
Okay, we're out.
Okay, now I saw people come on and then cut out. Iman, are you with us?
Looks like Imam's having some connection issues. Rabbi Seth Frisch has no visual, looks like, which it won't play without a visual.
Oh boy.
Rabbi? Okay, everyone, if you can hear me, just log out, then log back in. Let's see if that'll change it. Okay, let's see, who did we just leave?
Looks like Imam might be having some connection problems. Maybe if he goes on the Wi-Fi as opposed to, looks like he's using a 4G or 5G to log in on his phone.
All right.
You can tell all that.
Yeah.
Well, if above each person, if you look on the left-hand side, each one of us has a connection status. Imam's is very low. The rest of us are all bright green. His is low. So I can't actually tell, but I just assume that it's some kind of slow connection of some kind.
I got you.
But a lot of people, when they're on their cell phone, it works, but for streaming, it can be kind of shoddy.
Okay.
Rabbi, you got to connect your camera. Iman, the same thing for you. Can you guys talk? I heard somebody.
Rabbi, you might have to go into your settings. It looks like I'm not getting any audio for you. Yeah, we can see the private channel. So go, if you see right below the chat, there is a settings option. All the way to the right, looks like a little gear. You're going to click on settings, and then you're going to go under audio. And we're looking for audio input. You have to just set up your microphone for the audio input. If you're on a cell phone, it should automatically do it for you. But if you're on your computer, you might have to adjust some settings.
Okay, Iman, you were in and then you were out. What happened?
His connection's much better now, Imam. Maybe he's adjusting something.
You're like in the 60s when you had the rabbit ear antenna, you had to go put one hand on the antenna and put the other hand near the window.
Oh, boy. My dad had me to stand there and be like, hold your left leg up. Hey, can I put it down? Leave it alone, boy. Stay right there.
My dad had me hold the left leg up and the right arm. Like, Dad, I gotta stay like this forever. Oh, there he is. Hello, handsome. Okay, I think you gotta turn one of them off your phone and your computer.
I got it. Should be good now.
Okay, Chad's got it.
So, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can hear you. It might be because it might be playing out loud from whatever device you're using.
Well, I just switched over to my smartphone, as it were, because it was not coming on as you were directing me on the computer. So maybe that's something you and I could talk about at another point.
Oh, Rabbi, how many of these shows have you done now?
Well, this is a different thing, young Vincent.
Young Vincent. As I vastly approach 60. Thank you.
You know, you may vastly approach 60, but you have not vastly approached the age of understanding yet.
Oh, wow.
Ooh. So what you're saying, I'm old and stupid? I mean, is that what?
No. Yeah, many more miles to go.
All right, Rabbi, I'm just going to take you off the list for that Father's Day gift I was sending. Okay. It was a
You
good
want Father's
one, too.
Hey, what's the name of this channel?
What you got to say?
All right, you guys ready to come back? We've been on quite a break.
Yes. See what you can do texting the Imam to get him back.
Okay, I don't have Imam's information.
Okay. Give me a couple of seconds, and I'll before you bring us back, and I'll send you his info.
Okay. How are you, Rabbi? You're very much so missed.
Exactly by that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Don't blow his head up.
No, I do miss him. Though I do miss the Rabbi. It's been tough without him. I miss him.
Well, all I
Don't
have
blow
to
his
say,
head up.
I demand.
Now that he knows he's got fans, oh, it's going to be over for us.
I don't know.
Okay. Is everybody ready? I just sent it to you, Chad, so you can communicate
Okay.
with him on text.
All right, you got it. I'll shoot him a text message. I'm going to count you guys down from 5, stopping at 3, live in 5, 4, 3.
Okay, so we're working through the technical issues, everyone. Welcome back. For those of you, YouTube, what you got to say? Facebook, what you got to say? And channel 190, Comcast, what you got to say TV. Okay, so now I had some conversations with Pastor Jonathan Lee, and of course, as always, our other wise one, Rabbi Seth Frisch is joined in, and we're going to do, our producer is doing everything he can to get Imam, Dr. Talib Sharif back on. So real quick, introduce yourself, Pastor Leaf.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Leith. I'm the co-pastor of Converge Church in Morristown, New Jersey. Married, have 4 children, and my daughter's birthday is today. She's 20, so she's my oldest, and I've got 3 other boys running around eating up all my food. I'm currently in a PhD program. I don't think you knew this, Vincent. I'm getting my doctorate in strategic leadership. So I'm hitting the books, be writing dissertation real soon, but excited to be here and love the lively discussion.
Well, mine's is on church management.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've got my dissertation coming, and can't you see the bloodshot eyes from lack of sleep?
Yeah. Hey, that's what happens. That's what happens.
Yes. And Rabbi Seth Frisch, New Shahol of America.
How are you, sir?
Good. Introduce
Glad to be
yourself
here.
for those new.
Today, I'm glad to be here with the pastor today, and I look forward to seeing the Imam. My name is Rabbi Seth Frisch, and following in that tradition, I have 3 children, the oldest of which is studying to be a rabbi from the Orthodox of Judaism. And my wife is, and I'm a conservative rabbi, so we're trying to hedge all our bets in the greater department of the Jewish religion.
Oh, boy.
said all that, now we're in our second or third year, Vincent, of being a member of this team, and it's lively, it's interesting, it's in depth, and I'm just very humbled and proud to be here with you today. So thank you so much. Oh, and to Pastor, I just want to say mazel tov to your daughter on the achievement of yet another birthday. Many more to come. Many more.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you so much.
And
Sure.
we're waiting. And Imam Dr. Talib Sharif will be joining us as soon as we can get his camera back on. So we talked earlier about the situation with abortion. The Supreme Court's right now, there's a docket that's going to happen with Roe v. Wade. With the Republican judge or justices up there, more than likely Roe is going to die a horrible death. But the strange thing about it is that the woman who was well, her real name wasn't Roe. She turned Christian about maybe 30 years ago and confessed that it was all a lie.
Mm-hmm. Well, we know what they say. If it doesn't come out in the wash, it comes out in the rinse.
Were your parents and my parents related?
Oh, they could have been. They could have been.
Okay, so COVID, 2 years. Now Dr. Fauci says that we are out of the pandemic stage, and that brought about a tailspin. Now we've went through 2+ years of disinformation, misinformation, not knowing what was true and what was right. And Dr. Fauci sparked some crazy stuff up by saying that we're out of pandemic stage. And then the White House came back, and now he had to walk the whole explanation of what he said back. Are people that eager to get this over with, or are we just looking to hear what we want to hear?
Well, you might say that there's a long history of people in the White House agreeing with Dr. Fauci, and concomitantly, there's a long history of Dr. Fauci changing his mind about things that he says vis-a-vis the political winds. And I'm not trying to cast aspersions on his integrity. I'm sure it's quite good. But we have received so many conflicting reports about the beginnings, the middle, and the quote-unquote end of this COVID variety or varieties that I'm beginning to have doubts myself about what is really the truth. And I'm a purveyor of the truth. I'm a receptor of the truth. I want to know the truth, and I feel that COVID's getting a bum's rush. People are trying to rush it out the door long before it's supposed to go. That's my take.
Remember, it's going away. We've got 15 cases going on 0.
I don't know what's more disturbing to me, the COVID or that just reenactment of somebody saying.
Oh, okay, so I won't win an Emmy for my 45 impersonations, but okay. So, in walking it back, Dr. Fauci, and correct me here, but I've always found Fauci to be a straight shooter. In fact, he's been the only one of very few who have said, came out and said, publicly, I was wrong about this, and this is where the facts seem to be leading us.
Well, I don't hear him say that he's wrong too much. I do hear him licking his finger and putting it up in the wind and see which way the wind is blowing. Vincent, I earlier time, I'm much older than you are. And I remember there was a famous Dylan song that had a line, "You don't need a weatherman to tell which way the wind is blowing." And I do get that impression. I'm not a purveyor of the Students for the Democratic Society, but I am one who doubts government official spokesmen telling me what the government wants to hear. And you and I have had this discussion before, and I think it's important for us to understand the truth is out there. Sorry to be an X Factor acolyte here, but the truth is out there somewhere. I just don't know where the truth is right now. I'm going to tell you something else. Right. This pandemic is not over. People are still being admitted to hospitals. People are still dying. And in certain population centers, even with people with booster shots, people are still being admitted and dying and put away. So let's remember there is a truth, and we have not gotten it yet.
That part is true. And Dr. Fauci said in his second statement, he said, no, people are still catching COVID and people are still dying, but we're not getting hundreds of thousands of cases a day, nor are we getting tens of thousands of deaths a day. I mean, 2 years ago, we were looking at the news and that death toll was ticking like you were watching somebody on the Hunger Games.
Okay, so tell me one thing here. I'm coming at this from the perspective of somebody who's got children, got family, friends. They congregate according to the rules. They're allowed to congregate.
Mhm.
They're allowed to attend super spreader events. Yeah, I said that. They're allowed to do all the things because the COVID is supposedly no longer there. But I think we all can admit it's here. Even people getting their shots and their boosters and wearing masks, it's here. Why can't we, all of us, created in the image of the living God, why can't we get the living truth about what is out there? Why does it have to be?
Don't let me suck up all the oxygen. What do you guys think? Oh, by the way, welcome Imam Dr. Talib Bashir from, let me get this right, America's Mosque in Washington, D.C. Right? Dr. Sharif?
I think he just left.
Yeah, they left. You know, let me
introduction. But go ahead.
You know, well, Rabbi, I think, you know, unfortunately, the truth is expensive. That's amazing. Lies are free; they don't cost anything. You know, they're a dime a dozen. But truth seems to be, it seems to come at a high cost. And the reality is that
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah. So
you know, one thing according to that one comment, you know, the truth leads a wretched life.
Yes, it
does.
Know,
but it leads a very wretched life. That's in concert with what you just said. I completely agree with you.
Yeah. I remember this was wild. So December 2019, my niece is over. She goes to she's at Duke University, and they have an exchange program with a research, or they were doing research or doing some training in the Wuhan province of China. So we get this email that, hey, something's happening. We have to get my niece out of China like quick. And so she barely gets in right before Christmas. And she was telling, hey, something's going on. Something's going on. I mean, they were like shutting things down. And she came here, and then 3 months later, you know, the world stops. You know, it's I think with COVID, the reality is that we're in a mess. We're in a pickle. And if there was truth, hey, there's a vaccine out here. It may work, it may not. If you're very healthy, the likelihood of it being that effective, the efficacy may not be as high. But if you have some pre-existing conditions, then this is what you need to do. So govern yourselves accordingly, right? Don't make it mandatory. Don't do all these, you know, these hoops and dog whistles, because you know, one of the things about Americans, boy, you know, we fight for our freedom. I mean, you tell us no, and we're looking for, now you want to fight, you know. So
let's get ready.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, this was radical, you know, to take that approach. But I have to fall on grace. We were scared. Nobody knew what to do. So, yeah, I think it's very scary to put out mandates when you're still trying to figure things out, right?
What they found out is that the now dominant strand isn't as deadly.
Right?
How do you know? How do you know that? How do you know
Because
that?
hospitalization and death tolls have dropped.
The government told you it's not that deadly. How do you know? And before you answer that, take a gulp of air. And let's remember that the African-American community was experimented on,
right,
and lied to by the United States government. Let's remember that. Let's take that gulp of air and remember, how do you know who told you, and is it the truth?
You know, one of the things, you know, people were saying, you know, trust science. Well, what does science do? Science questions everything. So you're telling me to trust science, so I'm doing it. But no, you're saying it's mandatory. You got to do it. But then you just tell me to trust science. Science questions everything. It throws out hypotheses. It's got to test, see if this is true. It's got to wait. It can't run. So if you're saying trust science, that's what a lot of people were doing. But there was this authoritarian kind of push. And it had to do with, unfortunately, the economics were tied into it. We're now facing inflation. I've in my lifetime, I'm 50 years old. So I think they're saying around like the 70s, this was inflation numbers, or Reaganomics, this inflation. Like, this is crazy. This is crazy. So, again, I think that it was just the suddenness of it. We didn't know what to do. And then when you start to say these are mandatory, it's a recipe for disaster.
Okay, the government didn't make anything mandatory except for people in the government. And there is a Supreme Court precedent of mandatory vaccination. And this is one of the most brilliant things one of the Chief Justices said. He said, and I quote, "Every man has his civil liberties, his right of happiness. However, if his right of happiness impedes upon the lives of others, then mandates have to be in place for the greater good of the many, rather than the liberties and freedom of the few." So jobs can mandate that if you want to work here and get a paycheck, you got to get your COVID shot.
Right. But then I'm sure there'll be a lot of lawsuits, pending on unfair discrimination of firing practices and hiring and firing and so I get it.
So you're saying because most of the people of color or who got their jobs or whatever the case may be have their shots. So you're saying that a great deal of white Americans are going to start suing their jobs for discrimination because they didn't get their shots? Well, I gotta say to women, welcome to my world in discrimination. Hey, I'll show you the secret handshake.
Welcome to my house, right?
That's what I'm saying. Oh, you were discriminated? Oh, you didn't get your shot? Oh, you just suffering? Y'all suffering?
Right. I can't. Touche.
Oh, by the way, Rabbi, to answer your question, how do we know? Well, two things. One, they ran the test, the lab scope and the little, petri dish, and they looked at the potency of the actual new variant versus the alpha and the delta variant, and they found it to be weaker. Not as many per center or droplet. Then they also looked at the decline in hospitalization, the decline in people contracting it. And we're talking about a decline where now cities have test sites and cars are lined up for miles. And it's down where there was no test sites and the contraction rate was up.
There's I'll throw this out there. This may not be, I'm just throwing it out there. The placebo effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
The mind over matter. Like, hey, if I think I'm well, I can be well, right? And if I think I'm sick, I'm going to be sick. I think doctors in their residency, they say that a lot of doctors, they self-diagnose with these pathologies as they're studying them through their rotations. And if they're talking about a certain symptom, they're like, oh, I feel that, So not to say that that's what it is, but I think that, that's out there. But I will say this, the quickness in which the vaccine was developed, it was only quick because there was already research being done and there was already vaccines out there. There were already some vaccines that already showed a positive effects of, combating the virus. And so it was just a matter of adding a few tweaks to it, but the basis is there. And so I remember I did a message on, this pandemic and epidemic and how it becomes, how it grows. And epidemic is happening in one place. Pandemic is when it crosses over a sort of defined territory. So now we've got a pandemic, but now they're saying we have an endemic, right? Which says that, okay, this thing is here to stay. and let's just get used to it. I heard one individual say, and I think it may have been backed up with some research, that will be required to do multiple vaccines every 6 months, whatever that is. But I'll tell you, my parents down in North Carolina, they are like lining up to get it. They're like, we're scheduled to do it. My mom is sort of coordinating caravans to go get the booster shots. But I think that, I mean, it's what it is. America, we've never faced this. This is not just America. This is the global economy.
Pastor, way as people of faith, as purveyors of faith, what's our takeaway? We can talk about what's in the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, what's coming out, who to trust, we can do all that, and we're just lay commenters on things because it's not our field. But our field, our lives are as people of faith and as teachers of faith. So what can you and I and the Imam, if he's there, what can we do that has impact on our communities of faith that is in line with both the truth and what would be helpful, as Vincent would say, what would be helpful to the other? The other.
Well, Pastor, before you answer that, Rabbi, answer the question for me. What are you doing? What are you doing with your congregation that's in line with the truth? What are you doing as a purveyor of faith to give hope, strength, and the ability of people to walk and govern themselves in a way that they know that the God of their understanding is agreeing with this?
Okay, so here's something that I've tried to talk about. And, I meet with limited success, to be truthful, in almost all things, but in this as well. And that is, I look back into the Torah, and I look at this thing that they refer to as leprosy. Now, I don't really know what leprosy was then, and I'm not even sure if I know what it is now. I have to listen to medical people. But one thing that we understand from the Torah's tradition is that leprosy could spread. We could understand that. And we see in that world that people were scared of that. They avoided the lepers. They ran from the lepers. And there were teachers, great teachers of all of our traditions, who said, no. And one of the things that we learned was if we put people in isolation, then it was a betrayal of the human, it was a betrayal of the mark of God on humanity, that we had to reach out and help people, develop vaccines, develop medicines, compassion, working with, encouraging people to recongregate, even in the face of fear of what that person could spread to you. I want to answer Vincent in this way. I have encouraged people to come back into the sanctuary, come back and stand next to people, be vaccinated, wear your mask, wash your hands, but love each other as if you and I, I don't care what religious tradition you're from. I don't even care if you're secular. Have regard for humanity, for man and woman and child and parent. Have enough regard that you not only take care of yourself, but you do it for me and for you. And that message has gotten loud and clear. I've gone beyond Zoom at this point. We all know about Zoom. I've gone beyond Zoom. I've actually asked people, pleaded with people to come back to the sanctuary safely. And that, I want to tell you, that met with a lot of opposition, but we've slowly overcome it. Maybe because the statisticians are telling us it's better now. I don't know if it's better.
Yeah.
But I've done it. I have faced the music on this. I have faced the music.
I agree. And I got a comment, but I'm going to let Pastor Leaf get in there.
I agree 100% with you, Rabbi. We've encouraged people to come back. We know the scripture says in Hebrews 10:25, forsake not the assembling of yourselves together, for as some would do in the future. And it didn't say why. I mean, falling away from the faith, but also just the idea that we shouldn't discongregate. The whole beauty of congregation is that we see the body of Christ. We see Christ being seen when we gather together. We also encourage people not to live in fear. If you watch TV, CNN, Fox News, CSNBC, what that does, it just pumps fear into people. And as a man of faith, I've got to say, no, God hadn't given you a spirit of fear, but a power of love and a sound mind. And when you can realize that the body that you have, the beauty is not so much in this body, but it's the soul that rests within the body, You want to get soul care. Mental health issues have gone off the charts because people were isolated. I can't touch somebody through Zoom. I can't touch them. I mean, yeah, I'm looking at a computer, but I don't know who I'm looking at, and especially if their screen goes blank, or if they put me on, if they just turn their screen off and they got their nice polished picture up there. No, I need to see
while they're wearing their pajamas and drinking coffee,
and touch people. And so touching at the expense, as the rabbi said, at the expense of yourself. Christianity spread during the Black Plague because Christians were not afraid to risk their life to provide care for people who were the outcast, who were considered unclean, right? So, we love our lives not to death, right?
I'd like to make a quick comment.
No, Rabbi, don't make me mute you.
All right. Out on you later.
So here is the thing, and to answer that question, and I agree with both of you. The problem that we're dealing with right now, or churches, universal, are dealing with right now, are two things. One, they are using fear as their scapegoat to do what they wanted to do anyway. I do the audio visual and the tech for our church, the hybrid service of both in person and Zoom. And I also do the numbers. This is what I found. Okay. The church numbers have increased because of the combination. But also in doing that, what I'm seeing on the Zoom are the same people who generally don't come to church or come to church sporadically. As they say, you got that 40% of your congregation, and they're going to be there. They love it. It's great. It's a wonderful atmosphere, the social bonding, the gathering of the saints. Beautiful thing. You got the 40% who only come on occasions. And then you got the other 20% that are trying to make a decision. And that's what the churches or all of the faith houses are experiencing. And once we get to the point of, getting people to realize that they're letting this fear thing be an excuse because they still go to work. In fact, companies now aren't even giving them paid sick leave for COVID. And businesses have opened up. The economy has started to pick up. They still go to work because they don't give the bonuses for unemployment anymore.
Far from that main point of the pastor. The main point of the pastor, what he said loud and clear, what I heard you say, Pastor, was we need each other.
Yes.
We need each other.
We do.
And look, I go back to the original ordination of rabbis. Way back in history. We didn't say over Zoom, hey, you're a rabbi.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't say, hey, Zoom helped us. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
I survived because of Zoom at a very crucial moment. But go back in history, it was the laying of the hands.
The laying on of hands, yes.
The
Correct.
hands, one generation to the next, from rabbi to teacher to sage, to rabbi to teacher to sage, to humanity. It was the exact thing in our tradition and your tradition. And that is what will save us. Because as the Talmud teaches us, in life, in congregating together and allowing the boundaries to fall, that is where you find, in the human touch, that is where you find life itself. In life, there is humanity.
And
in
on
person,
that note, we're going to take a break. I'm Vincent Squire, and my three co-hosts, my three wise men, are Pastor Jonathan Leaf, Rabbi Seth Frisch, and Dr. Talib Sharif. And we'll be right back in just 1 minute, 12 seconds.
Okay, we're on break.
Imam, I'm about to put your face on a milk crate. Have you seen the Imam?
That whole laying of hands is called mitzvah in Hebrew, and that is the traditional way. You can't traditionally become a pastor with the hands. You can't.
Exactly. I'm actually going to be sharing on
testing 1 2 3 testing 1 2 3.
on Mother's
You're looking
Day,
good there,
a
Imam.
text that talks about laying on of hands.
Okay, it's about time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Once Imam gets settled, count us in. Okay, you're on. Yeah, there you go. Nope, you're just going to have to hold it straight up. You can't turn it to the landscape. There you go.
Okay. All right.
There we go.
All right, I'm going to count you guys down, stopping at from 5, stopping at 3, live in 5, 4, 3.
Okay, welcome back. And hey, listen, this is probably the most handsomest panel I've had all year. I've got Pastor Jonathan Leaf, Rabbi Seth Frisch, and Imam Dr. Talib Sharif. Now, before the break, Pastor, you made a statement. It was the congregation and the touching. It was the exchanging of feelings and emotions. It was the love that we have for one another. And that isolation took all of that away. Do you think that isolation has brought this increase in violence? I mean, we've got shootings that are at an all-time high. We've got fights and attacks on subway stations, gas stations, train stations, in the malls, in the streets, in the parking lot. I mean, road rage is at an all-time high. Is the isolation that fact that we've lost our humanity and when we lost contact with people?
I think it plays into it. I think social media has created a dissocial community, and I think that it's because of the fact that we take one of our things that may be different and we sort of explode that thing and make it a big deal when that's not the case. We need each other. We are humans. You take off one layer of, you take off our skin. We all are the same. So I think that there's an agenda to keep us fearful and to keep us isolated and to keep us disconnected. So what our job is to bring people together, and that's what's going to stop it. We cannot fight someone that you know. It's easy to fight somebody you don't know because you don't humanize them. But when you can talk to someone, when you can have a fellowship, break bread with them, you'll realize that they're just as human as you are. And I think that's a part of this that's coming together anymore.
Iman, doctor, what do you think?
I think it's a combination of things. And a lot of those things are converging right now. You look at, we had violence that was happening because violence was in a sense being endorsed. I mean, in terms of escalating violence, endorsed in the previous administration, even promoted to the highest office of the land.
They attacked the Capitol.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying. So that didn't go. I mean, obviously, if you are a person that's in a marginalized area already, and you already feel nobody cares about you, and then you see power, people with power, engaging in violence at the highest levels of our government, and then you got a pandemic on. My needs are not being facilitated. Now we have a pandemic. The communication processes are not there, and then we look at the economy now. People were out of work at one time. Prices are going up. Gas and everything else. All this is conversion. And the key thing is really the heart of all the protests is because people's needs are not being facilitated. Yes, there's a social need. There's also an economic need as well. And what happened? Look, I'll give you an example. My wife and I had 3 children, and we adopted 2 additional children. Now they were 5 years old and a 2-year-old. The twins, 5, they hadn't been in school. Their mother was an extreme drug case. The father was an extreme alcoholic case. They were trying to make it, but it just couldn't. I think it was opioids years ago. And what happened? I had one of the teenagers used to scream all the time when he couldn't get what he wanted. So what I decided to do, this is a 5-year-old. Again, used to be out with his father who was drinking. And we ended up stopping going to the camp. But I held him one day. I just held him. I didn't squeeze him. I held him. I wanted him to see that I cared about him. And I tell you, it was revealing because he eventually stopped screaming and he looked at me. And it was really, I have to say, it was an endearing look. He looked up. I'm holding him and he looked up. And he's like, he cares. And we need to put our arms around a lot of the violence. Yes, it's at all levels, but obviously the youth and African Americans is off the charts. We always know it's more so now because we're not getting that arms embrace. The needs are not being facilitated. Here in D.C., the rates are real high here in D.C. Crime, there are a lot of youth. We're trying to work with them, and we're hearing from them that gentrification is taking place. A lot of the facilities they used to go to get rid of manager. If children youth automatically, their brains are active, their bodies are active, they got energy, they're really supposed to be done in a productive way. If that can't happen, they can't always explain what's going on, but they have to expend energy to do things. And so if they don't have outlets, then of course, yeah, it translates to negative. Because a lot of these outlets have been taken away. We talk about social isolation now also with community services in the community clubs and those kind of things where they used to go do the basketball indoors and all kind of other things. You start shutting those things down too. And now my neighborhood is going down, it's dirty. That affects me in all kinds of ways. So look, you don't care about me. My needs are not being taken. So what happens is it's really an unconscious protest. They're protesting. They're saying you are supposed to facilitate my needs. When that child comes here, the parent facilitates the needs, it hugs them, the food, everything they need is right there in the arms of the parent. The food, right there. So the basic needs. That's what we got to start with. I think one of our panelists said that earlier, that we have to put our arms around.
Okay, anybody else?
I just want to say, Imam, salam alaikum, and I want to tell you that from what I've been able to discern from what you're saying, I hear you on almost every level, but a lot of your syllables were muted. I don't know if Vincent and the pastor also had the same experience with some of your words.
I did.
Did you guys also miss some of the wording?
Sure. Let me translate it for you.
Okay, thank you.
Now, I'm going to sum that up in less than a minute. We've experienced violence. We saw violence where a group of people felt like their needs weren't met because the state of Georgia elected a black man and a Jew, now giving Democrats power in Washington. And there was an epidemic, a pandemic, and they weren't getting their needs met. And the person who they thought was going to meet their needs was now on his way out of office. So the violence came in because they didn't feel like their needs were met. Now, he admitted and talked about having a child that he was adopting, 5 years old. Parents were on crack. I believe the baby was addicted, but every time he wanted something, he started screaming. And then the imam held him in his arms. And he experienced that love where he felt his needs were being met. And what he's saying is that America right now needs a hug. Is that close?
You know, this may be the first time, I want you to know, we don't see you often enough, but I will say this is the first time that I've ever understood anything that Vincent had to say ever in the history.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going to credit you,
because you keep
Imam.
muting me.
Listen, credit you, Imam, as Moses who has spoken, and Vincent as Aaron, his brother. That's the only way I can understand the clarity of his remarks that they came through you. That's all.
Mouthpiece.
Okay, so thank you. I appreciate being Aaron for 35, 45 seconds. So do you believe, is it possible, okay, if the churches start preaching love again, can that, if you know, from every level of faith, if we go back to actually talking about love while people are experiencing so much frustration, if we go back and actually start from our stands and platforms talking about tolerance and faith, can that change anything?
Well, Vincent, we've been talking about love for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's time for us to demonstrate love. I think the Imam said it best. I think, man, to take that child who never received a hug like that, that's what he was screaming for. And I think that's what people are wanting. You know, the pandemic did a couple of things. Number one, it scattered us. It made us fearful. I think it gave some people an excuse to not do something that they felt obligated to do before. But one of the gifts of the pandemic is that we got to see what was really real, what was important. We got to see where the pains were, where were we hurting as a nation, and where we were hurting was in the area of relationship. We are the most connected, disconnected people in the world ever. We will talk to a screen without talking to a person right next to us. It's amazing. I think the reality is that we realize that the thing that we've been sold is not true. The genie or the wizard, we pulled back the curtain and we saw it was a man on a bullhorn, and it wasn't real. What's real is me and my wife and my kids sitting down and talking about what's going on in our world. What's real is me going to my neighbor and say, hey man, we've had this fence up, but let's go around the fence. Let's talk. How are you? Who are you? That's what I think we got to do. Put feet on love.
Amen. Okay. Well,
You know, love can do a lot of things. It could eat through, it could transcend, it can go over a lot of walls and a lot of boundaries. The question, of course, in our own age is what's appropriate love? How do we extend that without being inappropriate or too much? And that's facing a lot of communities, not just my community, perhaps not your community, but a lot of communities. How do we now, after the pandemic has ended and there's been isolation, as the Imam said, there's been frustration, there have been, the ills that come with that isolation, the furtherance of ills that come with that. How do we now transcend that appropriately and re-embrace our fellow, not just co-religionists, but the communities that sit right by, literally alongside of us, the church, the mosque, the fire department? How do we, whomever it is, how do we do that appropriately and learn anything from the isolation that we've just recovered from, supposedly?
Okay. Rabbi, what I need to do is this, because we're going to shut off Comcast in about 3 minutes. So I need each one of you to take 45 seconds and tell people where they can reach you. Reverend Leaf?
All right, my name's Jonathan Leith. Go to my website, jonathanleith.com. jonathanleith.com. You may notice in the background, I got this book here. It says YOLO. You only lead one. 8 principles for leading yourself before you lead others. Go to my website, check it out, and I'd love to connect with you through that medium.
Rabbi?
You can reach me at the newshulofamerica.org. Shul it's spelled NEWSHUL of America.org. Always reach me. And Pastor, I just want to say this to you, two
Don't
things.
Make me mute you.
Quiet. One thing is we all need some of that. We all need some of that material you've got. And as soon as
I warned you. Okay, Iman.
Oh, no.
Okay.
We'll connect.
Okay. You can reach me at thenationsmosque.org. And I want to say that Malcolm used to be the leader here. And one of the things he did, he was in the community and he was visible, showing the people that he cared about them. That's what we need to do.
Okay, for those of you on Comcast who want to continue, because I want to continue on with these gentlemen because they really got something going on right now for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. So you can go and see us on YouTube, What You Gotta Say, or Facebook, What You Gotta Say. So for those of you on Comcast, tomorrow I'll see you again. God bless you. So a hug.
That's right.
We need
That's
to.
right.
We need to go out there and not just preach love, but get out there and give people a hug. And you know what? Most of the pastors I've talked to have already been triple, and some of them gotten their 4th vaccination. So,
I like that. I think America does need a hug. That was good. That was good.
Oh, thanks. I got it from Iman.
I know where you got it from.
Well, one thing that's important, if you sit down and you have coffee with somebody, Mitch, I think America could use a mug. That's what I'm thinking right now. And just to extend that, Pastor, I think your website should be called A Leaf of Faith.
Ooh. Uh-oh. I'm writing it down. I like that.
Yeah.
And pun was truly intended. Yes.
Nice.
So, okay. So what do we do? How do we show that love? How do we get out there instead of just staying from the comfort of our Zoom service? How do we get out into our communities and express to them that, you know what, you're going through the same thing, you're frustrated, you're angry, your needs haven't been met, but I need to give you what you really need right now is a hug.
Let me say that you in the history of the African American community, when you look at the various movements, crime was down lower when we had active members in the community, serving the community, food, those who needed food, they used to see, they used to pass by us doing that, cleaning the neighborhood up. I mean, these are small things, but they mean a lot because they strengthen our resolve and they strengthen our humanity by seeing us helping one another, taking care of one another. They used to see us doing that. That translates to I care about you. Not coming in preaching all the time, like you said, talking love. No, just the demonstration. And I think our collective resolve as people of faith, not just one congregation, but all of us together can begin to take and be in these communities on a regular basis together, doing things like facilitating needs, doing child care services, cleaning up the neighborhood. And we've experienced that here. We started seeing even some of the gang members started helping us pick trash up with something numbing never do. But we were doing on a regular basis. We got a t-shirt that's called, on a t-shirt that said, our community, our responsibility. We wear those t-shirts. And we want them to take ownership and say, this is mine. And the more we let things look trashy, then that affects us. And we start cleaning up. Just simple things like that. But if we're not doing that, then of course we leave a void, we leave a gap. And it translates to my needs are not being facilitated. Nobody cares.
Okay, Iman, African Americans have lost a huge portion of that homogeneous spirit in the 70s, because in the 50s and 60s, we had a common enemy. Now we don't know who the enemy is. How do we get that back? How do we get that homogeneous state? You know, the worst thing that I could have ever done as a child was do something and my neighbors would see it. They would tighten me up, then take me to my mother, who would tighten me up in front of them. Then I gotta wait for dad to come home. The worst thing that I could ever do is see a neighbor in need and not help her or him with their thing, with their groceries, sweeping their things, helping them with their trash. Because
I'm gonna tell you who the enemy is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you who the enemy is. We are our own worst enemy. We have become our own worst enemy. That's what the enemy is. And some of our leaders in the community are responsible. See?
But we have a responsibility for that, for making them leaders.
Exactly. We need to create a new generation of leaders. And I'm telling you, the way to do that is our best minds of our faith. Like on here right now, in our local areas, we can find people like us, like-minded people who really care, to start going in the community on a regular basis, not just coming in when it's opportunity to get the snapshot of those kinds of things. On a regular basis, people will begin with consistency. That's something that God loves more than anything else, just being consistent. We start doing that, we begin to see move. Again, I mentioned Malcolm because that's what he did. That's why he made so much progress. Right. He went in the community, he was in the community on a regular basis, talking to the people, trying to even the Black Panthers back in the days, like you mentioned those 60s. They were in the community on a regular basis, setting up programs, community programs. And a lot of those members who was in the street were off the street helping out and working. They saw us helping each other.
Yeah. Because they were responsible for the daycare program, the free lunch program.
That's what I'm talking about.
Testing. Yeah.
We stopped doing that. We started giving those responsibilities to other people. That's what didn't happen.
Well, I don't know a lot about Malcolm, but I do know one thing, that when he took the Hajj, when he went on the Hajj, he looked around and he realized that there were a lot more people than he ever imagined that would be there, from every color, right, and every stripe and every persuasion. And it was at that moment that he wanted to embrace all of his brothers and sisters. And I think that partially to the answer of the question is we have to do the same. We have to learn from Malcolm. We have to embrace people that we never saw before as our brothers and sisters, not just in faith, but as children of the living God.
Well, we're going to use Malcolm as an example. Another thing that he did that I really love was he was unapologetically honest. He did not have a problem in preaching and speaking truth to power. We have a problem speaking truth to our congregation.
Well, Vincent, just remember this about Malcolm of blessed memory. Just remember this. He paid a very terrible price for the truth. He paid a very dear price for the truth. And that is what scares a lot of people. It scares a lot of people when you speak truth to power.
Okay.
Same thing, Pastor, with the founder of Christianity. He paid a very price for speaking the truth, right?
Well, they all do.
But
Every man does.
essentially also he was alone. When we look at his last days and last circumstances, yes, he saw the wholeness of humanity. And this is one of the reasons that I'm saying that when I say we, the diverse faces on here, as our rabbi said, if we going together in our communities where the most trouble is, and they see us together, we've embraced each other first.
Right.
We've embraced each other first. And now we're in the community, serving the community. Every human being was created to serve and be of service. That I see it kicking in when they start seeing on a regular basis, because their own nature is a complement to doing good and doing things as kids. They always want to be healthy. That kicks in because it's natural for us to help each other. If they see us doing that together on a regular basis, picking up trash, feeding food, serving the community, as you mentioned, taking care of each other, that will become contagious. It takes a village to raise a child. So if something's wrong with the child, it means that something's wrong with the village.
So, Imam, I say to you, and look, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, or as we say in my religion, I know I'm preaching to the converted already. So here's what I want to say about that. Everything you've said seems so beautiful and so right, but people are often isolated and alone when they do the things that you've just said. It's important to lead, but when you get out there alone, why are you working with him? Why are you doing that? Charity begins at home. Do here. And we forget everyone else. We forget the humanity because we're scared.
People are always, evil has a way of isolating those who are doing good, because good and love is very contagious. Yeah. And as the Imam said, when people get out there and see us doing, they start to do. Right. And that's what we have to get back to. Get back to being like, as you said, the founder of Christianity, like Christ. He served. Yeah. He didn't sit up there and give orders or bark out everything and look and stand from his tall perch. He was in the community serving.
Right. Right. I think that's.
Well, you said, Vincent, you said it. Mm-hmm. You said it best. We had a sense of community at one time. And I know, like I said, since the time of King, we had a sense of community, but we've lost a sense of community. We know that word. We say it all the time. Come with unity. Seek to have unity. Look, I understand what the rabbi is saying. Yeah, we don't hear that, but that shouldn't deter us, because you come into my community, you help me, then I come into yours. And we're seen together. And the more we are seen together, working together and making progress for the betterment of that space, we all occupy this space. Share freedom space together and showing that we're responsible to make things better. If we continue to do that, then it will catch on.
Agreed.
The good will catch on. It's a part of our inherent.
If the Lord be for me, who can stand against me?
Yes.
Well, I think Moses at times when, he comes to the edge of the river, he's on Mount Nebo, and it's very clear he's saying to the Israelites, I may not get there with you. Dr. King said it. I may not get there with you, but I've been with you this lifetime. And I'm telling you, we're going to a promised land. I promise you this land. I promise you. But we got to keep moving forward. I may not get there with you. It is lonely. And it's going to be lonely here when you cross that river without me. But we have to lead. We have to do.
But
we must.
Dr. King said, I've been to the mountaintop and my eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. Mm-hmm. So the heck with that isolation. If you are a man of faith and you are a leader in the community, then talk the truth, plain and simple.
Well, you
don't have to take the truth and beat them in the head, but you do have to speak the truth.
Well, you speak it by being authentic. You live it. They need to see truth. You can be truth to them. And at the end of the day, to be a leader, that's the price to be a leader. Yeah. People want leadership, but
Hold on, Rabbi. Hold on. Finish. People want leadership, but what?
Well, they want the glamorous part of leadership, but real leaders are the leadership is what's done behind the scenes when nobody sees it. It's the sacrifices you make. I think all of us have done that, right? And that's the price of being able to sit right here in front of the screen. If you're not doing it behind the scenes, then it doesn't make what you do in public anything of credibility.
Correct. You know, I was saying, Vincent, I want to hear this. Rabbi Nachman of Wroclaw said, Gesher Tsar Ma'od, the entire world is a very narrow bridge. But the main point, Lo Lifached, don't be afraid. Go forward.
And on that, we're going to close the show. So, last words, Rabbi?
Just shalom, peace, salam. That's what I look for. Wholeness.
Imam?
Assalamu alaikum. I agree. Peace be unto you all. That's what we want. And that really means we're obligated to work for peace in our state.
Pastor?
I say, have faith in God and work like you'll be gone tomorrow, but believe like you'll be here for a while.
Well, for those of you who have extended some time with us, the reason this is called Three Wise Ones, you've seen it. I mean, sage wisdom. It's worth more than gold. And these gentlemen have spoke a lot of truth to my heart. We've become isolated. And in that isolation, some of us have become demigods. And demigods whose needs aren't being met. So we lash out at everybody, our government, our family, our friends, our neighbors, people at the gas station, people at my favorite place to start a fight, Walmart. Yet, Iman put it best. I think America, we just need a hug. We need to embrace love, embrace our humanity, and realize that we're all in this together. Although we're in a different boat, we're all in the same storm. So, on behalf of my three wise men, Pastor Jonathan Leaf, Rabbi Seth Frisch, Imam Dr. Talib Bashir, if it's God's will, we'll see you again. Peace.
Okay, we're out.
Gentlemen, thank you. That was a great show.
Good stuff.
You were 75% of the show, you weren't even there. You come up there and just change the whole tone, Imam.
He knocked it out of the park. He knocked it out of the park.
It didn't take long.
I was at a big disadvantage, man. I missed 75%. I was at a big disadvantage. I missed the Rev. I was in tune with the Rev earlier. And I know I missed a lot of wisdom from the Rev, so I gotta connect with you, Rev. Gotta connect, man.
All right, let's do it.
Great work.
Well,
Okay.
listen, Imam, you know what they call in certain circumstances, what they call Imam who shows up and takes the show? They call it the Hidden Imam, and we're all waiting for his return.
Are you going to be at the prayer breakfast, Imam?
All right. Say it again.
Are you going to be at the prayer breakfast?
I don't know. I've been so tied up, and I got to check emails.
By the way, I like that picture with you with the president.
Yeah, appreciate that. Oh, you talking about the prayer breakfast with the major?
It's people walking.
Yeah. I'm planning to be there. Planning to be there.
Yeah. Yes. Great. All right.
Give her my regards in advance too.
All right. Bless you guys.
Take
Take
care,
care.
everyone.
All right, Rabbi. Reverend.
All right. Salam alaikum.
All
All
right.
right.
Okay, Chaz.
Hey, Vincent. Just mixing it down.
Mixing it down. Okay.
It's a little chopped up. We had some problems with the Imam,
Yeah.
and a lot of his audio
he just knocked it right out of the park.
his audio was really choppy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think we only picked up about 15% of it, if that.
Yeah, that's why I had to translate it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, otherwise, good show.
Yeah, great. Okay. Let me know when you're ready to work on our syndication piece.
Which piece is that?
We're going to edit some parts of the show, some good clips, put it in a package for syndication pickups.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna finish the AME praise one first.
Okay.
I'll probably work on it tonight a little bit after work, and then a little bit more tomorrow, and try and put something together for. I still have to complete that commercial, and then once I complete that, I probably have like another hour of work for that, not even. And then I'll jump on the syndication project.
Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent. All right. All right. Have a
All
great
right.
rest of your day.
Sounds good, my friend. I appreciate you. You enjoy your day. It was good to have the rabbi back. He was playing hardball a little bit, huh?
Oh, it takes a little time to get him in line, but
He was
yeah.
playing hardball.
Yeah, you just
I
got
saw
to
you muted him.
Yeah.
I saw you muted him.
I
Not
warned
right.
him. I warned him
That's true.
first, right?
That's true.
All
Too
right.
funny.
Talk to you.
All right. See